Hello everyone, my name is Cody.
I'm Chantal.
And this is Unit 10 about the Green Vault Heist. And so the unit talks about how police have their work cut out for them searching for two suspected robbers involved in a heist at one of the most prominent museums in Germany. Have your work cut out for you?
Have your work cut out for you?
Heist.
Heist.
Prominent.
Prominent.
They stole a lot of jewelry and a lot of other things, which just breaks my heart because I love museums and to see history.
Right.
But that's something we can definitely talk about for this unit.
Yes.
Do you enjoy visiting museums?
Oh, absolutely. I love just walking through, looking at all the priceless art and artifacts and jewelry, and I even like old furniture, etc.
Priceless?
Priceless. What about you?
I do love visiting museums. I'm not a history buff, but I really appreciate learning about the history, find it fascinating. I mostly focus on the artifacts, not so much the jewelry, although it's nice to see, the crown jewelry. I've never seen England's crown jewelry.
I went to.
I've heard it's the most,
Yes.
old and most priceless collection they have.
Right.
But I do really enjoy since a very young age, kind of Egyptian ancient archaeological history, and seeing that at museums is just so fascinating.
Right.
I would see a museum every month if I could, and I love exploring and appreciating a lot of the history, what they show. And every museum is a little bit different, unique perspective of what they show, and I really try to see, every city I go to, try to see a local museum.
Right.
Probably most interesting that I've had seen so far in Korea would be one in Sokcho. It was a pottery museum.
Oh.
Of quite random,
Yeah,
I thought,
very random.
but there was a pottery museum and seeing the pottery, how they make it in Korea.
That's
the art,
amazing.
and it was quite interesting to me.
I would actually enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do think that every city, everywhere has some kind of interesting museum that you can appreciate the local culture,
Right.
not just national.
Right.
Yeah. So that leads me to my next question. What is the most famous museum in your country?
I think at the moment one of the most prominent museums would be the Apartheid Museum. It's really related to our history. We had a bit of a dark history where people who were not white were mistreated and they were not fairly treated. So the Apartheid Museum houses basically the history of this period in South Africa with photos, and it shows some things as well. It's really popular with international visitors because many people know of the history of South Africa.
House?
House. We have some lovely other museums too, but I think this one is one of the bigger ones, or the most popular ones at the moment.
I see.
Yes. What about your country?
Well, there is a wide variety of museums in America.
I'm sure.
But I, from my perspective, I would have to say the Smithsonian is perhaps the most prominent, perhaps the most famous in America.
Yes.
I believe, might be wrong, but I believe it's the biggest museum in America. They have a wide variety of collection of history, of sciences, of so much stuff. I've always wanted to go there and see very specifically the aviation, because they house some of the early innovation to flight and all these other planes and rockets and aeronautics, all these things that I kind of liked growing up and looking at. I know a little more boring, but
I'm not going to say it.
I've always been a little more interested in that.
Right, some people are very, very passionate and interested in
Right.
it, and others not.
Yeah, and I think, Well, not too old of a movie, but Night at the Museum 2 about the Smithsonian.
Oh, is that
Kinda-
based on the Smithsonian?
The second one, I believe.
I didn't watch them, but
Yeah,
I know about it.
kind of made popular again. People want to see, and it does show real filming inside the
Oh, that's
museum
nice.
and how big it is.
Yes.
And it houses so many things, so many priceless artifacts and historical important things,
Right.
even in the modern history. Now we're going to take a look at the language focus. And so the first one is one of the superlative and a plural noun. So my example that I would use is Jeju is one of the most beautiful islands in Korea.
Oh, I
I'd
like
say
it.
that, yes.
True story. All right, next up is even. Even Brian was late for the meeting because of the thunderstorm, and he's never late for anything.
And that's it for the Unit 10 preview. See you for the next part.